Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fair64 podcast with me, your host, Yemmy. And today we got a nice, juicy episode for you. We got to talk about Resident Evil Requiem. We got to talk about the DLSS 5 stuff going on. We got a whole bunch of things to catch up on. So let's just jump right in. I realized last week that I didn't put any gameplay footage behind my talking about the two games I talked about, Marathon and Slay the Spire 2, so I wanted to make sure that I actually had some YouTube footage to watch while I was talking about it. That way it's not like just a stagnant thing right now. And this footage comes from the YouTuber MK Ice and Fire, so shout out to them, like their video, and let's talk about Resident Evil Requiem, because I know that the game came out a couple weeks ago now, but I really didn't play much of it until this past week. This past week I just jumped into it, and really, I mean, for 2 days straight, I was playing the absolute living shit out of it. I did get to the true ending of the game, I guess you could say. And I want to start another playthrough to finish up some collecting of the little raccoon statues that you destroy. I got 18 out of 24 without using a guide, which I felt like was pretty dang good. And then I was also restarting a playthrough and just trying to finish the game as fast as I can. And one of the things I love about the Resident Evil games, at least of note, not of note, what am I saying? One of the things I love about Resident Evil games in general, and the first game I did this with was Resident Evil 5, and I went back and played 4, and I did this as well, where you buy the RPG with unlimited ammo, or you buy the revolver that kills most things in one hit or whatever, and then you just kind of blaze through the game. And that's kind of what I want to do with Resident Evil Requiem. Even though the core game is amazing, I feel like the base game is incredible. It's a Resident Evil thing where you go through the game, you have a playthrough that's scary and spooky, and you're trying to conserve ammo, and you're trying to learn the ins and outs and enemy placements and stuff like that. But then your second and third playthrough are going to be a bit lighter. You know what's going to happen. You have the means to stop what's attacking you, and you have more of an arsenal to choose from because you pretty much get most of your stuff right away. And I mean, once you get unlimited ammo and the RPGs and one-hit kill guns, you can start to really blaze your way through. And I did that with almost every game that has come out with the series. Resident Evil 2 Remake. I did not do that with Resident Evil 3, but I also did it with Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 and Village, and now I'm hoping to do that with Resident Evil Requiem. Right now, the gaming slate is kind of clear. I did pick up Neo 3 against my judgment. I was trying to stay away from it, but I got tempted. I'm a dirty consumer. What can I say? So I picked it up, and oh, good. There's ads on this video. So anyway, back to Resident Evil Requiem. Right away, the game starts off with a very, very good introductory sequence. You're in the middle of, just a city, and you're investigating this apartment building where your mother was killed, and creepy stuff starts happening right away. And I really like this opening because it shows you the dual protagonists that they're going for. You got Grace here, who is not a seasoned veteran. She's a skittish, scaredy cat. Let's just say that, especially at the beginning of the game. And she's kind of like the you in the game, the self-insert, I suppose, asking all the questions like, why is this happening? What's going on? Who are you? Right? And then Leon comes in the second part of the opening sequence, and just, he's guns blazing, kicking enemies in the face. He has his hatchet, which is incredible in this game. And you kind of see how different the two characters are. One, not just like in general, but two, their control wise is very different. So if you play the game with default settings, Grace's sections will be first person, and you can definitely tell that they designed the game to work either way. Because if you go in the third person mode, as this person is playing right now, it's mostly the same experience, but there are some tweaks to the game that I was kind of like, okay, interesting. So what I found out really early on while playing the third person mode for Grace is that she stumbles around. Like if you try and do like a quick turn like you do with Leon, she'll stumble and fall over. And in first person mode, that doesn't happen. How they kind of differentiate the two play styles is in first person mode, Grace turns very slowly, making sure you can't just do a quick turn and whatever. And in third person mode, they show you why, because she's slipping and falling and whatever in the third person mode. So I think it's a really cool. It's actually a really different style of playing the game. It kind of changes it up completely for Grace's chapters. Does it make it less scary to be in third person mode? I don't. I mean, I say a little bit, because in first person mode you got to kind of you're kind of up close and personal with all of the enemies. You're up close and personal with the zombie and the things that are following you around, right? When you're in third person mode, you can kind of hide around a corner and peek with the camera or whatnot. So there's a couple of things that do change the gameplay a bit in terms of like making it a little bit less scary, a little bit less spooky for you playing it. But it's not that big of a deal. And of course, you can change at any time. So if you're feeling like you aren't getting the full extent of the experience, switch to first person mode with Grace, or maybe switch to third person mode with Grace, or you can do the same thing with Leon. You can switch to the first person mode from third person mode. But default, they have Grace in first person and they have Leon in third person, which is the two protagonists with their two different gameplay styles. And the first, I would say 35-40% of this game is going around this mansion as Grace. It's very much akin to Resident Evil 7 when you're going around the house, or Resident Evil Village when you're in Lady Demiscu's castle, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's very tight knit. It's got a design similar in my mind. It's kind of similar to the police station from Resident Evil 2. It has a kind of a similar layout. But the people behind Resident Evil are masters of looping gameplay. They show that with this house that you're in, and then they show it later with this open world segment that Leon goes around in. So the first part of the game is pretty much just Grace's chapter, right? It's her act, and you're going through the house, and you got to kind of work your way around enemies and try and sneak past them, or you can try and engage them in combat. There's all these different things that you can do with Grace. But obviously, the first playthrough, you're probably going to be sneaking around most enemies and taking them out from behind, or once you do get enough ammo, taking out a couple that are in your way. But much like most Resident Evil games, when the zombies hit the floor, they're not actually dead. They might be plain dead. Like, there's all those different things floating around. And eventually, there's different versions of zombies that come out. There's different enemy types that pop up. And of course, there's multiple creatures that are big and ominous and following you around during the game. And there's some very effective scenes within the first chapter or first act of the game, where you go through, you're walking through a doorway, and then all of a sudden this giant fat like creature squeezes his way and breaks the siding of the hallway, and he just breaks his way through the gap, and it's just like it's a horrifying sequence to see for the first time, and it's almost, I mean, I don't want to say perfect, but it's pretty cool. It's like a really cool scene. So in first person mode, that obviously hits a bit harder, because you kind of just get that face full of flesh. But in third person, it's you can kind of see the entirety of the sequence taking hold, and that's also pretty cool too. They don't make it like Resident Evil 2, where you kind of feel like as Leon, you can kind of eliminate most zombies on your way to objectives, and you can kind of work your way through them without too much trouble. But when you're Grace, you have a very weak pistol to start off with. You obviously don't have a lot of offensive capabilities. You can throw glass jars and try and distract the enemies and whatnot, but there is a point where you do get this like injector, and the injector can cause zombie heads to explode, which is the way to like kill them like 100%, right? And you get like this blood vial thing, or this like blood extractor, which is a really cool crafting mechanic that is specifically for Grace, where when you take down a zombie or you find a bucket of blood, even a bathtub of blood at one point, you can craft various things with the blood. Like those injectors, or there's also things to upgrade your character as well, with like steroids and stuff like that, just to give you more power and stamina and whatnot. Or not stamina, but health. Give you more health. So that's also like another really cool aspect of her character. So you're kind of going through the game, and then you find this thing. It's like, oh, I should backtrack and get some more of that blood that I've been seeing in pots and pans and stuff like that. There's some really cool stuff going on here. And kind of like we saw this in the previews, but it really is exemplified here, where these zombies themselves kind of keep some human traits. Like there's a chef zombie who is carrying around a butcher's knife, and he's cutting in the kitchen. And there's also like some zombies that are trying to clean things, or they're turning off lights. They're like a butler, and they need to turn off the lights at night. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff like that, where the zombies are very much they still have a little bit of like that humanistic side to them. They're still carrying an item. They're still doing this or that, and that's also pretty cool. The second part of the game, the second act of the game, is essentially you as Leon in this open world area of the city, and that is pretty cool. Like, I was kind of thrown off when I first got there, but very quickly it's essentially just a giant version of the house, or the police station from Resident Evil 2, or whatever. It's essentially just a big looping map, and I love that so much. I really do. I mean, that's the peak Resident Evil game design that you come to know and love. And they kind of went away from that in Village. I mean, it was still there. Like, it still was noticeable that there was the looping gameplay, but it was less noticeable because the Village map itself is a bit. It's a big map, and not all the pathways link together, right? Lady Dimitrescu's house does have that looping feel to it, but then the other sections of the game lose that feeling, like the swamp, and there's also the house with the dolls in it and stuff like that. Those don't feel like a looping segment, but Resident Evil Requiem does a great job of having looping segments across the entire game. And once again, that's just part of the Resident Evil formula that I love personally, like just looping around and being, oh, I'm back here, or oh, this is how you unlock that door that I saw before, or oh, hey, this is that. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. Very much enjoyed my time playing it, and I'm definitely looking forward to finishing up another playthrough of the game, getting some more stuff done, and going back through it again to just go through it as a badass, essentially. I played all the other Resident Evil games on the harder game modes as well. I mean, there's obviously a lot of people who will play the insanity mode with the base version of the game. Like, I get that, looking for that challenge. But I will definitely go through on insanity mode when I have the amazing gear. And yeah, I did that in Resident Evil Village and stuff like that, having the amazing weapons and stuff like that all leveled up to go through those through those games. But they always throw that one section where it's like, oh, you're playing as Chris, and he just has like basic weapons and stuff, and that was actually difficult. This game does not have something like that where you switch characters randomly to a character that you've never seen before. But anyway, I don't want to give too much away about the game. It's very, very good. I enjoyed my time immensely with it. I'm sure that they will be adding a mercenaries mode into this game eventually. I feel like out of all the Resident Evil games that I've played, this one's up there with some of the best. It's right up there with Resident Evil 2 Remake, and it's up there with Resident Evil 7 and 8. The original Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5. I know Resident Evil 5 is a bit of a touchy subject for a lot of people, but I mean, I love that game. There's just something so campy and fun about it. So, I tend to have some fun with that. My monthly Nintendo Online subscription service re-upped, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Anyway, that's Resident Evil Requiem. Very enjoyable. Definitely check that out. Definitely play that if you haven't yet. It's good all the way through. It starts off with a bang, and it just kind of builds from there. The ending of the game is incredible too. Really enjoyed the ending of the game. It ties a lot of things together. And yeah, let me know what you think of Resident Evil Requiem. I'm sure a lot of you have already finished the game by now. Obviously, I did take a little bit longer to get it done than I was expecting, but I am glad that it is done, and I'm ready to go through another playthrough. All right.
And I'm giving Resident Evil Requiem a 4.5 out of 5.
And of course, this is an excellent way to transition over to our DLSS 5 talk. NVIDIA introduced a new AI-powered photorealistic software for their graphic cards. It's called DLSS 5. And essentially what this does is it tries to make things as realistic as possible. Realistic lighting, textures, etc., etc. So the lighting part of things wouldn't be so terrible, right? Now, obviously, anything that you do inside of this AI-powered program is obviously taking the artist's intent and changing it. And I think that's a big thing about the controversy around this, is the fact that you're taking something that someone handcrafted and made, and they made it in a specific way, and then boom, you're changing it. I mean, right there in front of you is the comparison between Grace's face in the game itself and then the DLSS 5 turned on. And she looks like a different character. Her hair changes color, right? She has makeup on and lipstick, and just she has like her features are different, and the lighting in the background is all different as well. It's a very strange thing to look at. And Digital Foundry was one of the leading people. What do you call it? One of the leading places that was kind of like championing this. They were like, oh yeah, this is so cool. I mean, look how realistic it makes the games look. And in a lot of ways, the lighting differences, the lighting is kind of impressive, right? But when you are taking a character and you're changing their eye color, and you're changing their facial structure, and they're changing their hair color, and you're essentially, what they're calling it is yassifying, which is not a term that I usually use, but that's essentially what they are doing here. And I think in general, the Leon comparison is probably the only one they should have used, because that one didn't change the character too much. But at the same time, if you zoom in, you can see they added extra creases to his head and added extra bumps and stuff and wrinkles. And once again, his eye color changes from like a hazel to a blue. And there's just maybe too much detail. Like at the end of the day, I'm still playing a video game. Like, I know I'm playing a video game. I don't need these types of things when playing a game to enjoy the game. Like, if the people behind the game intended for Grace to be a bit more muted with her her face structure, and not wear makeup, that's fine. Like, that's the intent of the creator. But when you take this AI generated filter and put it over the characters, yeah, they're gonna change. And because it is powered by a generative AI, the character model could change again the next time you boot up the game. The character could change facial structure, eyeshadow, hair color, like all this stuff could be different the next time you turn on DLSS, if I am reading all this correctly. One of the better utilizations of this would be if you're playing a game like FIFA or whatever they call it now, and you're trying to get the likeliness of the player to match. I think this is the only application where I say that actually looks a lot better because the game itself is going for a realistic graphic setting. The game itself is based on real people in the real world. Like, I feel like there's something to be said there. Like, there is there is something to be said about using this feature on sports games and simulation games, right? But even then, I don't know exactly what this player looks like, but you can tell his hair turns from brown to black. His eye color mostly stays the same there, but then you can also see his lips. His lips change. It's like they made his lips red or more red, and they've added obviously more depth and detail to his ears. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, are those, what does his ears actually look like, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's just there's still something a bit off about this, a bit uncanny, as people would say. And at the same time, like, you look at the characters in the background, I mean, it doesn't seem to do anything to the characters in the background other than the same thing here, where it changes his hair from brown to black. It doesn't. Some of this just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. One of the more egregious things is they used this same tool in Hogwarts Legacy, and they turned this old lady into a super AI generated looking old lady. Like, this is egregious. The old lady comparison, she's holding like a wand or whatever, and you would say like the lady on the left here is probably like, yeah, she's probably in her 60s or something like that, maybe late or early 70s. And then the lady on the right, it's like, oh, that's like an 80 to 90-year-old woman. Like, the age of the character changes drastically, and they've added so much detail, so many wrinkles. It makes this character look 10 times worse than, or maybe 10 times older, I should say, than the original character. And yes, it does look worse as well. It just looks like an AI generated photo, which you see these all over Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that being generated. Old person, generate old person with birthday cake in front of them or whatever. This is exactly one for one on those types of things. And the crazy thing too is like they've given her even older features on her neck, and it just does not look good. Like, this in particular just looks terrible. There is, I mean, come on. There's also another one here of this, I guess, student or whatever. I haven't played Hogwarts Legacy, so forgive me, but this student standing with this gremlin type guy. And the student himself, like, facial structure completely changing here. He's aged up at least 5 or so years. He's got more prominent cheekbones. Once again, the lips, bright red, a really a deeper divot and more, I guess, polished nose. Like, the lighting effects on the character actually make them look a lot older, I guess you could say. And then if we look at the old man character, he's more of a background character, but yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about how little this actually does in general, but then how much it's also doing at the same time to just completely screw over these character designs in the game. There's a couple more here from Starfield. I mean, for whatever reason, I can't see the original version of this one, but if you look at the DLSS 5 version of these two characters, like, they just look like AI generated slop. It really does. These two characters' faces are just AI generated slop. If you look at the next one, sure. I mean, there is a case to make about, like, okay, the original Starfield model versus the DLS model. Like, obviously the DLSS model looks better in a lot of ways. But also at the same time, like, this character model just looks fake. It looks like an AI generated image, which is essentially what the game is, or the DLSS thing is doing. It's making an AI generated version, a more hyper realistic AI generated version of the character's faces. And even though technically this looks better, it's still just AI slop at the end of the day. And once again, it's just changing things about the character's facial structure, and it just doesn't make sense. It's completely changing the characters at times. So yeah, I'm not in support of this DLSS 5 at all. NVIDIA has already come out and just said the stupidest statements ever. I don't even feel like reading them here because it's pretty much, oh, the gamers are wrong and we're right. And Digital Foundry came out and they were like, well, this is actually pretty cool. It's like I don't want this shit. Like I don't want this AI crap in my games. I don't like it's the same thing as the people like editing Grace to be like have more revealing clothes on and bigger breasts and stuff. They're like, this is the real protagonist of a Resident Evil game. It's like, no, the real protagonist is the one that they've designed for the game. Like, you can have your fetishes, that's fine, but don't say that your fetish needs to be in the game itself. And you can kind of say the same thing here, where it's like, we don't need the AI slop in the game. Like, if someone wants to do this, just do it on your own time. Don't enforce these things on the graphics card. Don't enforce these things on my PC. Don't enforce these things. Don't automatically have this shit turned on. Like, it is just, it is night and day. Just how, just how these two images just look so different. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm going to say it once again. I don't support this at all. I can see there being some sort of application here because in general, I mean, obviously it's going to crispen things up and make things look better. But also at the same time, I stand behind the artist's intent. I don't care if Grace's face is maybe a bit too, I don't know, doughy. I don't know how they call this, like smooth, I guess, in the game version. Maybe it's a little bit too smooth. I don't, but also at the same time, like, it doesn't matter to me because the character is the way the character is. This like yassifying the character is not going to make the gameplay experience any better. And like I said, there also comes the caveat of, well, are they going to look the same next time? Is the game going? Is the DLSS filter going to change their facial structure? They're going to change their race, change their hair color. What's next? And how does this application work in motion? It concerns me a lot that, especially because NVIDIA is leading the charge on this. It concerns me a lot more with that. So yeah, as of right now, this new DLSS thing, they're just kind of showing it off. They've received a lot of backlash, and of course, with that backlash, they have essentially doubled down. NVIDIA has doubled down, saying, you guys are the problem. This is great. This is amazing. We're going to have this, this is going to change your entire gaming worldview. And really, the only people supporting this are the AI bros who are already 100% in on AI, and they generate everything with AI, and they ask Grok questions every day, and they talk to Chat GPT every single day. Like, those are the only people who are supporting this, the people who are bought in on AI, and they don't see a problem with changing the artist's intent, and they don't see a problem with the developers of games not being told that their product was going to be used for this program. And they don't see a problem with the fact that when an AI generates something, it's actually stealing from other artists. It's stealing from real artists. It's not making anything actually original. And yeah, I don't know what else to say other than this is bad, and they should not have done this. And we'll see what happens. I will keep you all posted. But as of right now, what do you think of DLSS 5? All right, this one comes from Video Game Chronicle. Ubisoft has ended game development at the Tom Clancy studio Red Storm. This has resulted in 105 jobs being lost. The Tom Clancy series has been going on for quite some time. I remember playing a not Resident Evil, Rainbow Six game at my friend's house on his PlayStation 1. And I remember we didn't really understand what was going on. More recently, I watched a video from Da Beast, who was playing through every single N64 game, and he played the Rainbow Six game on the N64, and it's very detailed, it's very interesting, but also at the same time, it's clunky because it's one of the original Rainbow Six games, one of the original Tom Clancy games. So the series, the Tom Clancy name has been around for some time, and obviously Tom Clancy writes books or wrote books, but the name is put onto these games. And the last Tom Clancy game to come out was technically X-Defiant. They took Tom Clancy's name off of it because they wanted to keep his name under the more serious titles. But X Defiant was supposed to be a Tom Clancy game. I believe it was made by the same studio behind Tom Clancy. But I guess the last actual Tom Clancy game, was it Wildlands or whatever it's called? The one where it was like open world with the Punisher actor in it. And I don't remember that doing it well. I think it was fine. But yeah, I mean, the Tom Clancy series has been quite an up and down experience, I feel like. I mean, obviously Rainbow Six Siege is a big hit for them, but there's a lot of games recently that have kind of petered out. I mean, even the Division 2, I don't believe that's holding the same player numbers as the Division 1 did back in the day. And I really feel like the Division was kind of the last Tom Clancy game that I really enjoyed and really played for a long time. Like even Rainbow Six Siege, I didn't play that for too long. They recently re-released Rainbow Six Siege as like a new version of the game. I don't know how well that's doing, but yeah, I mean it's unfortunate to see them shutting down such a legendary studio, shutting down a legendary IP, and you know. On one side of things, it's like, well, you know, maybe it's time for this Tom Clancy monkeyer to be retired. But on the other hand, too, it's like, well, it's a pretty long running series. You know, I remember playing Ghost Recon Future Warrior on the PS3 and having a good time with that. And yeah, it's just it's interesting. Ubisoft is going through a lot of changes right now. Most of them not good. We'll see what else happens in the future. All right, finally, Arc Raiders has replaced some of their AI voice actors with human replacement, with the actual human voice actors. This is coming after a lot of people were very upset that the game was using AI voice acting, and it wasn't a noticeable, like an immediately noticeable thing, I should say, because they did have the actors record lines and have an AI learn from their vocal patterns and stuff like that to create the actual in-game audio. But it really becomes apparent when the characters in the game start talking to you over and over again. You can really start to hear the AI tendencies come through. In a statement from the studio, they said, we re-recorded some of the lines post-launch and made them real voices. There's a quality difference moving from AI to human performances. A real professional actor is better than an AI. That's just how it is. Also from the studio, they said, we look at AI first and foremost as a production tool. We can test things internally. We can test 15 different lines without recording them, and then we know what to record. It's also a way for us to work, not to replace actors. We don't necessarily believe in replacing humans with AI all the time, which is that's a funny statement at the end here. We don't necessarily believe in replacing humans with AI all the time. The game has made enough money to pay the people to record the lines that they need for the game. I wholeheartedly feel like they should be doing this with every character. And like I said during my main talk about the game, whether it be in my top 10 list of the year or even when I was talking about the game while I was playing it, the AI stuff, it's there and it's annoying, but it's not overbearing in a game like this, because really the characters you talk to, you go to their store or their trading post, you buy what you need, you complete a quest, you get a new quest, and you just kind of skip over the dialogue because it's like, you know, does the story really matter in Arc Raiders? Like, it's interesting, sure, but at the same time, it's like a lot of the same like fetch quest type things, click on this thing, put the thing over here, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, the quests and stuff, they don't really capture the imagination. But then they also have cutscenes that happen as you complete multiple objectives. And those cutscenes also have the AI voice acting in them. So I'm wondering if, because they were selective about the voice lines that were replaced, I do wonder if they replaced the voice lines for the AI actors in the cutscenes, and they've probably left the regular characters alone at this point. That's what I can kind of guess and gander at. I haven't booted up the game since this update was launched, which is kind of crazy because I was playing Arc Raiders every day at one point. But you know, it's one of those. It's just like, okay, we're moving on with the year. I'm still playing the game here and there, obviously, but you know, with other games coming out, it's kind of taking a bit of a backseat, at least solo play wise. And they've done a lot of things to enhanced the game recently. I know a lot of people have. It's been of a bit of a positive negative kind of pool going on right now. They added some new arc in there, which I feel like are fun to fight and make the game a little bit more difficult. They are also adding in what's called a king. Which is supposed to be an even more monstrous thing next to the queen, the matriarch. So I'm sure they'll be adding that into the game soon. They added some new weather effects and stuff like that, but they have not added anything like a new map or really any new craftables to the game or weapons to the game just yet. So we're still waiting on that kind of thing. But as of right now, I think the game is still fine. Like I mean, I really am enjoying my time with it. I'll keep playing it until my friends don't want to play it, and even then, I might keep playing it on my own. But at the same time, there's a bit of fatigue that starts to happen when you've been playing the game for so long, and you kind of go in with your build, and you go in and do your thing, and extract. Right now, it seems like people are being a bit more aggressive in the game, pretty much because people are just kind of pissed off with some of the updates that are happening. And then you also have the influence of Marathon, which Marathon is a pure PvP PvE experience. Like the PvP is very prevalent in the game. When you see someone in the game, you don't ask questions, you just shoot them because they're going to shoot you back. Or in the back, really. So I think that has kind of trickled over into Arc Raiders. That playstyle is trickled over into Arc Raiders because we have come across way more hostile raiders than we have in the past, I feel. And you've always had that like group of people who are looking the PvP. Like you've always had that in the game, but now it feels like there's a lot more of a chance to actually meet a group of people or a person who is willing to take you down for your stuff. And there's been a couple of times where I've gone down with like 50,000 coins worth of things in my inventory, and it's like, man, like that really stings. And it doesn't ruin the game for me because you can always get that stuff back, but man, it stings for a little bit. You feel like you're being taken into the sunken place as you watch your character crawl around and eventually get taken out by the person who took you down. And it does kind of stink at some points, but you always you got to get back on the horse and ride. Cowboy, you got to get back on that horse and ride and raid and build back up your supplies. So the other thing I hope that they update soon is being able to purchase more inventory slots, because I maxed out quite some time ago and it's been really annoying managing my inventory lately. Anyway. Ballistic Moon has officially been shut down. Most notably, they did the Until Dawn remake for the PS5, and they were shut down by Sony this past week. Now, of course, the game sales for Until Dawn were not good. It was a remake that was put out simply because the movie was coming out, and they thought they could piggyback off of that. But the movie was not good. It was not received well. And the game itself, to the fans of Until Dawn, was also not received well. I personally just rated it pretty much the same as the original game, and I even said in my review, there's no reason to buy this version of the game. There's really nothing going on here that's super groundbreaking or changes the game that much. And even though they brightened up the graphics and they gave it some polish and they added in some context to some scenes and redid a couple of things here or there, I feel like the original experience for the PlayStation Greatest Hits price of $20 is going to give you the same exact experience as the $60 to $70 remake of the same game. And it's just really just a dumb... It was just a dumb move. It was really just a dumb move by Sony to try and do this. If what they really should have done is a PS5 version of the game with updated graphics and whatnot, to put it on a PS5 disc, but make the update free for people who already have Until Dawn, or give people an upgrade path for Until Dawn remake, like $10 if you have the original game to upgrade to the new version of the game. It just does not make sense. Now, I understand that PlayStation and Sony want the money, and they also, I believe, put out Until Dawn on the PlayStation Plus service back in the day, so they were probably like, well, everyone has the game and we're just going to lose money. Well, funny thing is that you lost probably more money making this game and trying to sell it for a full $60 price tag you could have just put it out for a $10 upgrade fee for people who already own the game. You probably would have made a lot more money because more people would be willing to spend $10 to play the game again with updated graphics and some updated scenes and controls. It just was a bad idea by the big wigs at Sony who were just trying to cash in on the movie coming out. And what ended up happening was the game didn't sell well, and I don't know what Ballistic Moon was working on throughout the last year or so, but yeah, they've been shut down, and I don't believe there's anyone working at the studio anymore. So yeah, unfortunate news there. Probably should have seen this coming. It's crazy that they didn't just they really, this is what they should have done. And I'm not a millionaire. I don't own companies or anything like that. But this is what they probably should have done. They should have combined Ballistic Moon and Blue Point Games. Combine them. Combine the staff. You can still move people around, maybe lay some people off, but combine the two studios so that they still are around. Because at the end of the day, one, Blue Point Games was amazing at remaking games, and two, the Until Dawn remake looks good. Like there's definitely talent on that development team. So combine the two studios, and you're good to go. I feel, but they did not do that. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. Obviously, Ballistic Moon had some potential in it with how well it graphically was looking, and you can say the same thing about Blue Point Games, where like the games looked good and those games rated really well. Metacritic scores don't lie, but yeah, PlayStation made the decision to shut the studios down, and there's nothing I can do about it other than bitch and moan. Speaking of Sony, they are dropping the PlayStation Network branding later this year. So the PSN will no longer be. It'll just be PS. So they are planning to phase out the PlayStation Network branding by September 2026. This is according to an internal email seen by Insider Gaming. So the email reads as such. We'd like to inform you that Sony Interactive Entertainment has strategically decided to phase out the terms PlayStation Network and PSN across our platforms in order to properly capture the breadth of the evolving digital services. The upcoming changes are purely visual and will not introduce any technical alterations for our offerings. To simplify and unify branding, the terms PlayStation Network and PSN will be phased out across all SIE assets by September 2026. All features currently associated with PSN, including core network features such as friends, multiplayer, and trophies, will remain unaffected and available to players. You'll be notified ahead of changes coinciding with the technical requirements checklist update in the fall of 2026. Doesn't make a lot of sense that they're removing this branding. PSN just in general makes sense. It's PlayStation Network. It's a network of PlayStations. I don't know what the problem is. But yes, of course, they're taking the branding away and they are replacing it with nothing. It's probably just going to say PlayStation, which just seems kind of silly. All right, Netflix's Assassin's Creed TV series has finally begun production in Rome. This was announced back in October 2020, and now it's finally got a cast and crew to make the series come to life. It's officially gotten started in Rome, Italy, and in a Twitter post, they said, Assassin's Creed has officially begun production in Rome. Set in ancient Rome in 64 AD, the live-action series adaptation of Ubisoft's best-selling video game franchise stars Toby Wallace, Lola Pettigrew, Laura Marcus, Tanzin Crawford, Zachary Hart, Klaas Bang, Naban, Rizwan, and more. So, I don't know too many of these actors and actresses. But hopefully it does well, and I can't wait to see what happens in this live-action series. Here is a synopsis of the show. Assassin's Creed is a high-octane thriller centered on the secret war between two shadowy factions, one set on determining mankind's future through control and manipulation, while the other fights to preserve free will. The series follows its characters across pivotal historical events as they battle to shape humanity's destiny. So it seems like this is going to be a crash course into the lore of Assassin's Creed, much like the Assassin's Creed movie was kind of a crash course into the world of Assassin's Creed as well. And maybe this is going to be a bit more grandiose. You know, obviously they're filming in Rome, but from that they could follow along a similar path to what Ezio did, and then they could maybe for season 2 or maybe halfway through the season change it up and go to Constantinople or the North America during the Revolutionary War. Like there's so many different time periods that they probably will jump across. So it sounds like they start in Rome, but they could go to other places. So I'm vaguely interested in this. We'll see how that is when that eventually gets released, probably in a couple years. All right, here are some games coming soon. Lego Batman, its release date was pushed forward a week across all platforms. So now instead of launching on the 29th of May, it'll be launching on the 22nd of May, which is great. 1 week early. I'm very excited about this game. It covers a lot of Batman history. I don't know exactly how it's going to link all these things together, or if there's going to be like little vignettes and missions to do. But the open world itself looks great. The combat looks good, and I'm very interested in seeing what they're going to do with this Lego Batman, or this Batman ode to Batman type thing. So I'm very happy about that. I'm glad that we're going to be getting that a little bit early. And 1 week closer also means 1 week closer to me playing it and having fun with that. So excited about that. All right, Vampire Crawlers got a release date and a price tag. It's going to go for $10 across the board, whether it be in British pounds or US dollar. So I mean, they had this like little funny skit kind of commercial that was going on, but I mean the game looks great. It's kind of like a mix between like Slay the Spire and classic games where you're like dungeon crawlers. This comes out on the 21st of April. It is coming to Xbox Game Pass if you so desire to get it on there, but it's relatively cheap. I mean, $10 across the board on April 21st. I mean, you can throw $10 at an indie development studio. Like if you want to try it out on Xbox Game Pass, I hear that. Don't get me wrong. But I do feel like $10 for something like this is a steal, and it reminds me of when Hollow Knight Silksong was released for $20. Like it's just an indie dev knowing that they could get more money for something, but then just thinking about the players. And yeah, I mean it seems like Vampire Crawlers is going to have a wealth of things to do in the game. I don't think it's not going to be worth $10. But of course, everyone sees it differently. So yeah, if you want to check that out, that'll be available soon, April 21st. All right, Marvel Maximum Collection has a release date, and it's sooner than you may think. This is coming out on the 27th of March. It's going to include a couple of old X-Men games, which is pretty cool. A lot of these games released on the SNES and Genesis era devices, but there's a couple of other ones in there as well. Right here it says you'll be getting 6-player online co-op action, which is pretty cool as well. So let's go through the games that are going to be on the thing here on the collection here. We have Captain America and the Adventures, the arcade, Genesis, and NES versions. Silver Surfer on the NES. Spider-Man and the X-Men in Arcade's Revenge. You're going to be getting the SNES, Genesis, Game Gear, and Game Boy versions. Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage on the SNES and Genesis. Venom and Spider-Man Separation Anxiety on the SNES and Genesis. And then X-Men, the arcade game, of course, on arcades. This is a pretty good collection. It features a bunch of different versions of these games, and as we know from playing the Cowabunga collection, not every version is going to be stellar, but it's cool to have these games be back in a modern context. And as I say, game preservation is always key here. And once again, like even though maybe the Game Gear version of X-Men arcade revenge or whatever. Maybe it's not a great version of the game, but at least there is a way to play it. At least there's something out there, to keep this version of the game alive. Because who has a Game Gear nowadays, right? Who has this game on Game Gear? So very cool. That is going to be launching, like I said, on the 27th of March, and it will be available on limited run games with a physical version. Let me see here. There should be a link for that somewhere. No, maybe not. I'm sure the physical edition comes with some amazing stuff. Let's see here. This is just the announcement video. Yeah, maybe they haven't announced a collector's edition yet. Well, anyway, that's coming out soon. I'm definitely going to be picking that up. All right, Stupid Never Dies had some gameplay shown up at the Future Games Showcase. This is the Lollipop Chainsaw-esque kind of looking game where you play as a zombie kid who is in love with a human girl, and she gets, I guess, captured by some sort of sinister evil dude. But the gameplay style, it's very similar to something like a Suda51 game, and I mean, people are kind of divided with this one, which I don't know. Like, I think it looks fine. I don't know if it's going to be a game that I'm going to pick up right away, but it definitely seems to be a fun little beat 'em up kind of action game. You play as a zombie kid who has special powers and whatnot. Yeah, I think that if you want to check it out, you should check out the trailers, of course, and maybe don't hate it until you actually get some full gameplay of it. But this is coming in 2026. Wishlist now. All right, Neopets is getting an official collection on PS5, Steam, Switch, with physical versions as well, which is crazy. This is going to include a lot of the Neopet mini games you maybe know and love. This is coming the 26th of March, one day before the X-Men game, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, you're getting 25 iconic mini games plus a new game called Starlight. Oh boy. I mean, a lot of these games you could play on a web browser back in the day, earn coins to get your Neopets new outfits and whatnot. I think it's really cool. Once again, game preservation. Like this is JavaScript like games being re-released. Physical collection is pretty crazy. This you can probably get this on Amazon or whatever. Yeah, I mean this is I mean I don't know what to say. This is wild. Like this is something that you never would have expected 5 years ago, but now we're getting a Neopets minigame collection. The physical version of the game includes exclusive DLC, posters, stickers, and a postcard. Pretty cool, I suppose. Who out there loves Neopets? Raise up your hands. Okay, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book has a Switch 2 release date and a price tag to it. I believe it's going to be about 50 doll hairs. It's going to be releasing on May 21st. A pretty packed month, a pretty packed 2 days there for May. But this was a part of the Mario Day celebrations. They showed off more gameplay for the game. I mean, obviously, the Yoshi games seem to be more geared towards a more younger audience. But I mean, look, it looks charming. It has a fun art style to it. It looks like you're collecting like little letters and bringing them back to the big book in the sky, Mr. E. Yeah, I just I like the style here. Once again, I don't know if this is gonna be a day one pickup for me, but it certainly is cutesy. Looks like Bowser Jr.'s in there. But yeah, it's gonna be available May 21st, and I believe it's gonna be $50. Speaking of Mario toys, aka Mario figures, are gonna be going to McDonald's Happy Meals. That's right. Starting up on March 26th, you'll be able to start getting Mario statuettes, or whatever you want to call them. They're pretty much just Mario figures. They don't move. They're not opposable. But the characters are Birdo, Bowser Jr., Bowser Jr. Wonder Mode, Luigi in the frog suit, Luma, Mario in the fire flower suit, Princess Peach, Rosalina, Toad, and Yoshi. On TikTok, McDonald's showed off the new characters here. I don't see a mute option. Wonderful. But yeah, I mean, essentially, look, the character is it's just a figure essentially, and I don't know what I expected from a McDonald's toy. I guess I don't expect too much from them now, but I think that the characters look pretty fun. I love the Luigi and the frog outfit. I think that's great. The Bowser Jr. Wonder Mode looks really good, and Bowser looks a bit weird. Like he's got like those eyes that have seen some shit. Oh shoot, I messed up. I was gonna zoom in and I accidentally scrolled down. Hold on, we gotta zoom in the Bowser's face here. All right, here we go. The joke is about to be 100% awesome. Yeah, Bowser's seen some shit. He saw Mario's butthole when he bent over one time, and he just can't unsee it. Anyway, those toys are coming soon. McDonald's Happy Meal. Let's go. All right, there are 3 games coming to PlayStation, and I believe one of them is coming to Switch in the next couple of weeks here. These are all Xbox games. So we have South of Midnight coming over to Switch and PlayStation on March 31st. Starfield, which was officially announced that it was coming to PlayStation last week. That's coming April 7th. And then the new Double Fine game called Kiln is coming to PS5 on the day that it launches on April 23rd, which is pretty cool. So yeah, if you want to check out any of those offerings, they will all be available soon. Starfield is getting a physical edition. I believe South of Midnight is not, and Kiln is also not as well. Also, here are your 8 PlayStation Plus and Premium, Extra and Premium games for March 2026. These are actually available to download right now if you want to, but I missed the week that they were announced. So we got Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, Persona 5 Royale, Madden NFL 26, Blasphemous 2, Metal Eden, The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, and Astroneer. And then the premium game this month is Tekken Dark Resurrection on the PSP. A pretty good grouping of games there. And then you also lose 2 games this month in March. It doesn't have a specific date here. But EA Sports PGA Tour and Lost Records Bloom and Rage are both leaving the service April 21st. There it is right there, April 21st. So make sure you play those if you want to before they leave. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Very much appreciate that. Any comments, questions, or concerns, make sure you put them into the comments below on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. I do try to respond to each of them. Also, don't forget, if you want to chat in the Discord, link is down in the description below. If you want to keep up with me and what the happenings and goings-ons, what my schedule is going to be, that is the place to do it. Right now, we are still playing through the Kawabunga collection. We have a couple more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games to play. But we should be done with that by the week's end. And other than that, if you want to check out the other podcast I do called Film Freaks with a Z at the end, we recently talked about the movie Hard Boiled from 1996, which was a fun conversation. The next episode, which it's a bi-weekly podcast, so the next episode is about War of the Worlds from 2025. Can't wait for that one. But yeah, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. So long.
The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. Sound clips included during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. The Ferret 64 logo was made by Player2P2. The intro and outro music was made by Gail Laliot on Fiverr. News sources include PushSquare.com, NintendoLife.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions are my own. Thank you for listening.